Somewhere in an empty office, a chair falls over. Again, for the 62nd day in a row. The CEO doesn't know why. The CEO doesn't know who. But the CEO is furious enough to send a company-wide email about a single tipped-over chair. What he doesn't know is that the person responsible sat 2 feet from him during every single meeting where he ignored their complaints, dismissed their concerns, and told them, flatly, that they weren't being targeted, while they very much were. This isn't a story about vandalism. It's not about damage or theft or anything a lawyer could touch. It's about something smaller and somehow more satisfying. 6 months of quiet, invisible, undeniable proof that ignoring people has a cost. If you've ever worked for someone who made you feel invisible, who brushed off your concerns, gaslit you about your own reality, and only moved when forced to, you're going to feel this one in your chest. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let's get into one of the most satisfying slow-burn revenge stories out there. Let's call our narrator Sam. Not because it matters what their name is, but because every person watching this has been Sam at some point. Overworked, underpaid, talked over, told they're imagining things. Sam worked in a department that, from the outside, probably looked unremarkable. Just another team, just another job. But inside that department was a slow-motion collapse that nobody upstairs seemed to care about. It started with the vehicle. The department's work van had an exhaust leak, the kind that seeps quietly into the cabin and makes your head pound and your stomach turn before you even clock what's happening. Windows that barely rolled down. No ventilation to speak of. Every shift, Sam and their coworkers climbed into a vehicle that was, in plain terms, making them sick. They complained. Nothing happened. They complained again. Still nothing. It took OSHA, an outside government agency, getting involved before management so much as blinked. Not concern for their employees. Not urgency. Just the bare minimum required to avoid a fine. That was the pattern. Not one bad day. Not one bad decision. A pattern. Then came the manager, and this is where it stops being about safety and starts being personal. Sam's manager and his boss were close. Best friends. Actually, the kind of friendship that turns a workplace into a private kingdom. They ran their little corner of the company like it belonged to them. And when Sam became inconvenient, they didn't fire them. That would leave a paper trail. Instead, they did something quieter and crueler. They wrote Sam up for something they didn't do. Imagine that moment. Sitting across from someone who holds your paycheck in their hands, reading off an accusation you know is false, watching them nod along to their own fiction like it's fact. Sam sat there, throat tight, replaying the accusation over and over, searching for the words to defend themselves against something that never happened in the first place. Then the hours started disappearing. Sam went from a normal schedule to 1 shift a month. Not because they asked for it, not because business was slow, but because 2 men decided to squeeze them out quietly. And when people asked why Sam barely worked anymore, they were told Sam had requested it. Sam didn't request anything. So Sam did what you're supposed to do. They went to the top. The CEO happened to be walking by. An actual, physical encounter, the kind Sam had been trying to arrange for weeks through official channels with 0 success. Sam explained everything. The write-up, the vanishing hours, the rumors being spread about them. The CEO's response. No, they aren't targeting you. 6 words. No investigation. No follow-up. No curiosity. Just a dismissal, delivered in passing. Like Sam's entire livelihood was a minor scheduling question instead of a person being pushed out the door by 2 men in a position of power. That IT didn't stop there. The same manager who wrote the false report also threatened staff with write-ups for something federally protected, discussing their wages with each other. That's not just a bad boss move. That's illegal. And when it came to light, a slap on the wrist. That's it. No real consequence. No accountability. Emboldened, the manager turned his attention to Sam's friend and coworker, applying the same pressure, the same targeting, the same slow squeeze, until the stress became unbearable. Until this person, a human being with a life outside that building, reached a point of crisis so severe it became suicidal ideation. Let that sit for a second. A workplace environment, left unchecked by leadership who knew and did nothing, pushed someone to their absolute limit. That was the moment something in Sam went cold and still. Not explosive anger, something quieter. The kind of anger that doesn't yell. The kind that calculates. Sam asked for a raise around this time, after discovering that newer hires, people with less experience, less time invested, were being paid more than they were. It wasn't greed. It was basic fairness. Management agreed. They promised a little more than $19 an hour for being, in their own words, a good and reliable worker. That promise is now 7 months old. The raise Sam actually received didn't even reach $19. That here's the thing about people who feel powerless. Really, truly powerless. The kind where every formal channel leads to a locked door. They don't just give up. Something in them starts looking for a door that isn't locked. Sam couldn't force accountability. Couldn't force a fair wage. Couldn't force the CEO to actually listen instead of rushing past with a dismissive comment. Every complaint disappeared into the same void, ignored until it became a legal liability. Like the van, like the wage discussion threats, and even then, barely addressed. But Sam noticed something. This company, for all its size and all its indifference to the people actually doing the work, had a strange soft spot for small disruptions. Tiny inconveniences got noticed. Emails got sent. Time got spent. If pain and injustice didn't register, maybe inconvenience would. So Sam started small, quiet, untraceable. 0.1 light bulb, unscrewed just enough to flicker or die without ever touching the ground. One per day in a specific low-traffic area. Nothing broken, nothing missing, just off. For weeks, nothing happened. Sam kept going anyway, patient in a way that felt almost meditative. Loosen, walk away, repeat tomorrow. Then, one day, an email, company-wide. Someone had noticed the bulbs getting slightly unscrewed, and it was, in their words, wasting staff time having to fix them. Sam read that email at their desk and had to fight to keep their face neutral. Somewhere inside, something unclenched for the first time in months. It wasn't triumph exactly. It was smaller than that, and stranger. The quiet, private satisfaction of being seen for the first time in this building, even if nobody knew it was them. But cameras were coming to that area. So Sam let the light bulbs go. That fight was over, and it had been won. The chairs, though, the chairs were different. That area sat near the CEO's secondary office. A space almost nobody used. A space that meant, if this ever got noticed, it would have to be noticed by someone at the very top. So one chair a day, gently tipped onto its side. No damage. No mess. Just a small disruption in a space that belonged, symbolically, to the man who'd told Sam to their face that they weren't being targeted. The same man who'd let every real problem in this workplace fester until it became a crisis. Every day, Sam walked past that room and nudged one chair over, feeling a strange calm settle into their chest. This wasn't rage. Rage burns hot and messes everything up. This was patience. This was control, the one thing that had been stripped away from Sam in every other part of this job, finally, quietly, reclaimed. Then it happened. An email. From the CEO himself. Not a manager. Not HR. The CEO, the same person who couldn't find 15 minutes to hear Sam's concerns. The same person who dismissed a legitimate grievance about targeted harassment with a 6-word brush-off, had personally gone around picking up chairs. And he was asking, in writing, what was going on. Sit with that for a second. A man who ran an entire company, who had the power to fix wages, fix vehicles, fix toxic managers, fix everything Sam had begged him to address. That same man was rattled enough by tipped-over chairs to send a formal email asking who was responsible. Sam read it twice, then a third time, and somewhere in that rereading came a feeling that no raise, no apology, no formal resolution had managed to produce in 7 long months. Satisfaction. Real, warm, settle into your bones satisfaction. The CEO never found out who did it. There was no proof. No camera footage, not yet, anyway. Just a mystery he'd have to live with, a tiny thread of doubt he'd never fully pull. Sam decided that was enough. The cameras were coming. The point had been made. And there is a particular kind of power in knowing you got away with it completely. That the person who caused you so much harm spent real time and real energy on a problem you created and never once suspected you'd. Here's what makes this story land the way it does. Sam didn't break anything. Didn't hurt anyone. Didn't even really get back what was taken. The fair raise, the safe vehicle, the manager held properly accountable. None of that came back. What Sam got instead was smaller, and in some ways, more human, proof. Proof that an action has consequences, even quiet ones. Proof that the people running that company would spend more energy on a tipped chair than they ever spent on a person's well-being. And that irony wasn't lost on anyone who read Sam's story. Sometimes justice doesn't look like a courtroom win or a dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it looks like a CEO walking around an empty office, picking up chairs, and never knowing why. If this story scratched an itch you didn't know you had, smash that like button and tell us in the comments. What's the pettiest, most satisfying revenge you've ever pulled off or witnessed? We read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning.